The jury in the high-profile trial of a Florida woman accused of trying to hire a hitman to kill her husband deadlocked on Wednesday. Circuit Judge Glenn Kelly declared a mistrial after the four-woman, two-man jury said it was hopelessly deadlocked after 9 hours of deliberations spread over 2 days. LawNews.com has been following this case very closely, live streaming it all. I'd like to welcome Rachel Stockman from Law News. She is the managing editor there. Thank you for joining us, Rachel. Welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me. What an interesting case this one was. Sure.
Right. I mean, when the judge announced that mistrial, what was Dalia Dippolito's reaction?
I mean, at this point, when she found out there was a mistrial, I don't think it was entirely surprising because the day before you had some indication that the jury was hung. And that morning, once again, to the judge, the jury said, hey, we can't come to a unanimous verdict. And the judge basically said, I'm going to send these jurors back one more time, but if you guys can't come up with anything, I'm going to have to declare a mistrial. So there was some indications leading up to that moment that this could end this way. In addition, a kind of exciting moment in terms of the attorneys. At the very end, you also had the defense accusing one of the jurors of basically talking to the media, which is a major no-no to do during deliberation. So the judge actually brought in each juror one by one to question them to see if they had given any information away to the media. So I don't think the end result in the end was that surprising, just because in the day before and the hours leading up to it, we had some indication that this probably would end in a mistrial. Overall, though, quite shocking that it did end in a mistrial, considering the video evidence we saw.
Yeah, her 2011 conviction and 20-year sentence were thrown out on appeal. In that case, the defense argued that Dippolito and her then husband, Michael Dippolito, and her informant and former lover, Mohammed Shahadi, were acting in a video project to get their own reality TV show. The men denied that. Within 3 hours, the jury convicted Dippolito. What was different this time around?
So that's really interesting. The defense, Dalia got new defense attorneys, and they had a total switch in strategy. They did not bring up this whole reality angle like they had in the 2011 trial. Instead, which I thought was a really, really smart defense tactic, especially in this day and age, they basically pitted the police department as officers, detectives, the chief wanting to be on the cops' TV show, eager to get good publicity. And I think there's so much anti-law enforcement feelings out of there and distrust for law enforcement that this defense strategy really, really worked. And from what I understand, she is going to be retried a third time. And the defense says they are definitely not giving up on this strategy. They're going to hammer away at this because I think right now there's a lot of distrust on police officers. And the defense did such a good job of portraying these Boynton Beach police officers as basically being opportunistic, wanting to put on a good show for cops for whatever reason. And it worked. The jurors bought into it.
Right, that anti-police narrative is an unfortunate trend that we've certainly seen a lot of in recent years, and the prosecutors really took advantage of that. They said that Dippolito is on trial. They said not the Boynton Beach Police Department. It did appear that the department reveled in that fame a little bit. Do you think that the Boynton Police Department did lose some credibility during that trial?
Okay, here's what I think really might have kind of sealed the deal for the defense. At the last day, they were able to enter and show the jurors that video. It was a staged crime scene. After Dalia had allegedly solicited the informant to basically put out a hit on her husband, Michael, the police department staged a crime scene in which they told her husband was dead, and she starts, crying hysterically. And, obviously all those tears are fake because she knew it wasn't real. But at the same time, you have a police department basically lying and putting on a whole act for the cameras. So it kind of played both ways. didn't make Dalia look very good. On the other hand, I don't think it made the police department look very good either. I mean, this is kind of unheard of for the police department to stage a crime scene. They had crime scene tape up, they had their officers out there, and they lied to this woman. Again, not unusual to lie to people that you're trying to. Potential suspects, but the extent to which the police department did this, I think, brought it to a new level that definitely went into some gray area, at least in terms of how the jurors saw it.
Absolutely. I'm not sure if this is true, and maybe you can help me out with this. I heard that some of the Boynton police staff, they wanted to have some type of viewing party when they were featured on Cops. Do you know if that's true?
And that is one of the things that was talked about. The chief apparently, and I'd have to go back to look at some of the more of the details, but they were excited about putting together some kind of viewing party about this episode that was going to air. I mean, granted, you know what? Let's be honest. The truth is, it's not entirely unusual. Police departments work with these shows all the time, and they want to make their police department look good and the good work that these folks do on the street every day. So you can't totally blame them for that. But, did it cross the line? Clearly, the jurors thought it did, and I think that's why they couldn't convict her this time around. It will certainly be interesting now that she's going to be retried a third time to see what happens. Because this isn't a case where you had one juror that was a holdout. From what I understand, it was a split of 3-3. So the defense was able to get 3 jurors on their side to buy in to the fact that she didn't do this.
So and I also found that peculiar because, like as you said, it's usually that one person that's holding out, and we had 3 against 3, so split down the middle. Very interesting to see the difference between the two trials. The first one, like I said earlier, within 3 hours, guilty verdict. This one took a couple days and they were deadlocked. So very fascinating to watch. Her attorney told jurors that she had an infant at home to get home back to. Was this just an off-the-cuff statement, or do you think the fact that she's a mom and they mentioned that, do you think they planted that there for a specific reason?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the defense threw it in at the end there. She's a mom. She's got to get home to her baby. And of course, she apparently had this baby when she was on house arrest. But again, that is something that would pull at some of the jurors' heartstrings to say, oh my gosh, we can't let this mom, not go home with their child. Again, she's still going to be on house arrest waiting for her third trial. But absolutely, that was a defense strategy to try to win some more of those jurors over, trying to paint her as more of a human and as a mom. Absolutely.
State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg issued a statement Wednesday saying prosecutors will retry Dippolito. If the next jury doesn't reach a verdict, do you think they're going to keep trying her?
Well, it's not unheard of. I've covered other cases where another case we covered earlier this year, they're already on their 4th retrial. It's possible. I think it depends on what happens. Okay, if there's another hung jury, is it 4 that won't convict her to 2 that will? If it's that, then I'd say they should give it up, stop wasting taxpayers. If it's 1 to 5, one holdout, then perhaps, they should try. It just depends. There's so many different factors that could go into a whole different set of jurors and a new trial. Something interesting, too, I would watch out for in this new trial is, what is because I don't think the prosecution did such a strong job this time around. It was a very short case they presented to the jury, and they only put 2 witnesses. And their whole thing was, well, the video will speak to the jurors. You can see her committing this alleged crime on camera. What more do you need? You got to convict her. Clearly that didn't work. I think they needed to give more on terms of what her motivation could have been, why she did this. Try to paint any sort of picture of what type of person she was, because the case they presented was very short, and the defense did a good job of chipping away at that and also painting law enforcement to be untrustworthy in this case.
Right. I think the prosecution looked at the first case and they thought, this one's in the bag. Let's take it easy this time around, only have 2 witnesses, but as we've all seen, that it didn't work out for them. The state attorney, Dave Ehrenberg, issued a statement saying prosecutors will retry Dalia Dippolito for a 3rd time at the earliest opportunity, so we're going to certainly keep an eye on that, and we'd love to have you back to talk about that retrial. Once again, Rachel Stockman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day.